Archie, just what's it been like to be down here with this team, trying to get a 10th win?
It's been fun, man. The bowl has been great. The representatives of the Citrus Bowl have been amazing. The hospitality, Orlando's awesome. Our kids are excited. So it's been fun. It's been fun. We're ready to play.
Obviously, LaNorris Sellers is quite a challenge. What have you guys learned in your linebackers specifically about containing a guy, spying a guy like that?
When you have a player like him that's such a dynamic athlete, he does a really good job managing their offense, quarterback run game, throwing the ball. He does everything they need him to do to give them a chance to be successful. The biggest thing for us that we've been preaching is just being disciplined. He's going to scramble at times. When he scrambles, we got to have great angles. We got to play with great leverage. We got to be sure tacklers. He's a big, strong, physical, very gifted athlete. In a lot of different areas. So it's a challenge that we're excited about, that we're looking forward to, and can't wait to go play. Man, there was a player. There's several guys that have been similar to him, but I can just remember specifically early in my coaching career, this guy actually was a first-round draft pick quarterback out of Kansas State. His last name was Freeman. Josh Freeman. As soon as we cut on the tape, that's the first thing I thought about. I was like, I've seen this guy before. Yeah, yes he was. And again, exceptional athlete. Case in point, he was a first-round draft pick. So, again, great player that we're looking forward to playing.
Another running back's out, but do you think the offense is built a lot around this quarterback where they may be able to overcome the loss of their running back who opted out?
South Carolina is a extremely well-coached team. They got a bunch of really, really good players. Starting with the quarterback, I think they got several backs that can step up and carry the load that they need in the run game. Really good receivers, athletic, talented offensive line. So I think they'll be just fine. I'm sure from a coaching standpoint on their side of it, there may be things they have to tweak or make adjustments to. We won't know that until game day. But I think they'll have enough weapons that they feel like they need to give a competitive football game. So, again, looking forward to it, and we'll see what we got.
Archie, how did your room handle the loss of Dylan, maybe that last part of the year?
Oh, man, it was a gut punch, and more so with our players just from a compassionate standpoint for Rosie. You're talking about a guy that was a captain, leader of our team, and the friendships and just camaraderie that room has that's kind of focused or centered around him. Those guys, their hearts ached for him, and wanting to just step up and play quality defense and keep things going in a positive direction in our room to make him proud, I think was extremely important to those guys, and they're excited to see the way he's rehabbing and staying involved and things like that. But it was hard for him just to see a guy that they developed such a strong friendship with go down.
Did you have different I won't say did you feel like anything different when you have to go to a James or a Ryan Mead or somebody? Because, humans are humans. Skill sets are different.
Yeah, from a coaching standpoint, you always have to prepare for the what ifs. Coach B says all the time, it's not about what happened, it's about what could happen. And so we try to do the best job we can in preparing for the what could happen moments. Injuries happen. You never want them to happen to anybody. Unfortunately for us, it happened to Dylan Rosiak, but those guys have stepped up and are doing their job to make sure we still play good defense and stay competitive. So I'm very proud of them.
What has James showed you in increased playing time at that Mike linebacker spot? How's he taking it?
Oh man, he's a guy that's hungry. He's stepping into his own leadership style. Again, young, hasn't had the amount of snaps that he's got now at this point in the season that we did early. But the future's bright for James Kreutz. The future's bright for James Kreutz, and a guy that had to overcome some things himself. And so to see where he was when I first got here and to see where he is now and to know it's still just kind of the tip of the iceberg for him, it's exciting.
And then Malachi, he's kind of been a little bit of a revelation, especially in that Northwestern game. What has he brought to your group, and how does that look for the long term?
Malachi Hood has what I like to call wow factor. He does things at times that just make you say wow, and sometimes I think he might surprise himself. I tell him all the time, I don't think he knows how good he can be, and I think coming into the season, the biggest thing for him was just getting some snaps, establishing some confidence, You know, he probably didn't expect to play much, you know, and then to come in and see in this back half of the season and to see how he's contributed to some of our success and some of the things he's been able to do. He's such a gifted player. You know, he's big, he's fast, he's strong, he can run like nobody I've ever seen. You know, so again, the future's really, really bright for him.
To that point, when you saw Malachi maybe for the first time or first couple of times, were his expectations too low in a sense?
I don't know. You know, I think, you know, when I first got here, he was coming off of an injury, you know, and coming off of an injury, you know, a little bit of his backstory kind of transitioned to a different position than what he was in high school, gets here, goes through the freshman thing, then boom, has a very traumatic injury that takes a lot of rehab to come back from. You know, I think he was just kind of hoping for whatever the best in his situation could be. And you look and you see the guys we got coming back, he probably didn't think there was a lot of room for him, you know. And you know,
if he thought he was going to make an impact like this, and he just looked at me and said no. So I wondered if his expectations might have been too low.
yeah, I think sometimes when you're in a situation like his at the very beginning of your career, you really don't know what to expect. You know, you just want to do the best you can and not let anybody down. And so Malachi Hood is going to be a superstar. You know,
Did they surprise you at all? I mean, when Dylan goes down and at linebacker, he's so important, you're thinking, oh, I'm wondering how this will look the last 3 games. But did they surprise you at all? Or?
no, I mean, I knew we had a room that could fill in the gaps. You know, I wasn't concerned with that. As long as you got players that have certain abilities, it's my job to put them in the correct positions. You know, at the end of the day, experience is what experience is. The most experienced person in the room was Dylan Rosiak. And when he went down, we had a lot of guys that had talent but just didn't have the snaps. Well, guess what? They got snaps now. You know, and they're like freaking flowers that are just continuing to blossom every week. You know, and all of those guys, with the exception of one, is coming back. You know, so I'm excited about that.
Was the key to put them in different roles? It seems like you guys split up some packages a lot.
Yeah, you know, my thing from a coaching standpoint is to always put a guy in a position that he can be successful. I'm not going to put you out there and say execute this play just because that's your job. You know, sometimes you have to make sure a player's job fits what his skill set is. You know, at the end of the day, if you tell me to run from here to the other side of that room in 3 seconds, I'm not going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? And so I think it's unfair when you have expectations of a player that don't fit his skill set. Well, my job is to make sure we put them in positions that fit their skill set. And we got a bunch of different skill sets in that room, you know, so it's about just putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Archie, as we approach,
As you talk about Malachi and maybe saying he didn't know how good he could be, what's your process as a coach to unlock that, to make him know how good he
I call it pushing them in the pool. You know what I mean? Sometimes the best way to learn how to swim is to just get thrown in the pool and you either swim or you drown. You know, and so in certain situations, you know, there's always preparation. There's always there's a coaching element that you have to coach a guy. But at the end of the day, there's no substitute for snaps and experience. You know, and so it got to a point where I was just like, you know what, Kai's got to play. He's going to play. He's going to do well. He probably doesn't know how well he's going to do until he gets out there and does it. You know, and each time he played, he got a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And then you look up Northwestern, 2 big-time sacks, a sack fumble. You know, he was running all over the place. And, again, he's done a great job for us.
Archie, as we approach the last game of this season, I remember talking to you months ago about the first conversation you had with Coach B, which was him telling you, one day I want you to be a coordinator. I want you to be a head coach. And maybe it's a little early for me to ask this question, but as you finished your first year with Coach B, did you get everything out of the experience you thought you would get when you made the move?
Man, I'm so thankful, you know, to just have the opportunity to work for our head coach and our defensive coordinator and everybody in our building. You know, it's a blessing to get up every day and walk into a building surrounded with people that, number one, you enjoy being around, number two, that help make you better. And the level of growth I've had in this season, you know, and you know, this is going into my 20th year. So, you know, and still growing. I'm so appreciative, so thankful for it. I love being here, love the head coach I work for, and I'm just excited for the future.